Tap, tap, tap. And then there is leaning. See it? How much? That is a sturgeon bite. Okay? Rather than the pike minnow biting. So that's what we looked for. And I just kind of watch around and we chit-chat and we do our things. But that's what we're watching for here. And I look for that bite. When that bite comes on, I pick up the rod and I go kind of, because these come right out of here. I just come up without making a big abrupt motion, right? Because we want it, because it's sensitive down there. Yeah. Pick it up and go to my fish, and I hold the rod nice and steady. When he's biting a certain amount, I'll feel him, and when he's pulling on me hard, like it almost makes like he wants to pull it out of my arms, I then strike the fish. Set the hook is what we call set the hook on a fish. And then he's up, and we got him on the bend of the rod. He's got weight, and then we keep him connected.
That's hooking the fish on.
Right. So then we'll get some of these other rods. That's where Jim's going to help out. We'll get some of these other rods out of the way, right? Maybe it's a smaller fish, which we like to see too, small sturgeon. So we get him out of the way. We may only take 2 rods out.
Yeah.
Like this rod and this rod will come out.
Yeah.
And we'll be fighting the fish on that one. Then we'll eventually get the fish to the side of the boat. Then I'll bring out the cradle. Yeah. And we got a hose here and we run water into the cradle. Yeah. And then we bring in the fish into the cradle. If the fish is too big, then what we'll do is we will take the fish over to the shore. Yep. That's called a shore fish. Yeah. Right? Because we don't want to hurt the fish, right?
Are you tagging?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we tag.
You do tag them all? Do you tag every fish?
Well, we tag every fish that needs a tag.
And what constitutes need?
A tag.
How do you determine when it needs it
and when it doesn't need it?
What's the criteria?
We determine that by
if it already has one.
If it already has one or not.
Oh, okay.
See?
And how do you know if it has one?
Scanner.
Oh, scanner. Oh, wow.
Just
high tech. That's cool.
Where's it implanted?
That interests me. The conservation aspect.
In 1995 to 98, we worked on a program with the provincial government only. Yeah. Right? That's after the big die-off of all these fish in 94. Remember 34 big giant fish showed up dead that they knew and that they sampled. Okay? That's when the alarm bell went off. Yeah. No more killing sturgeon on the Fraser River.
That's right.
And all of a sudden the conservation started. The provincial government started a program where they were looking for a female that was going to spawn in a cycle year. Yeah. Right? In the year. It took 3 years to find that fish. Right? Because there was very few people actually fishing sturgeon out here in those days. You know, now it's a huge industry, but in those days it was a very tiny industry, and there was very few people to go out and sample for the government. I was part of that program, as there was a number of other people. So what we did is we actually tagged fish. The thought back then was they were going to put, it was recommended that we put the tag in the dorsal area, by the fatty tissue of the dorsal. So still today, for any fish over 5 feet, and that's what we looked in the program, we were tagging fish that were 5 feet and larger, right? So those fish, don't worry, I'm watching them all as I'm talking. So I don't miss a beat here. My eyes are trained to be there.
Yeah.
So So we were looking for that. It took us 3 years to find that. That was the location that the scientists in those days said that we were going to put those. So still today, when we have a fish over 5 feet, because that was the program, because that almost constituted spawning fish, right? So a fish has to be about 22 to 25 years of age, and about 4-foot fish, 4.5-foot fish could have eggs. But to take that out of the thing, we'll just make it 5 feet would be the number that we were going to that we constituted was the number that we knew that fish was mature enough to produce eggs and or a male but we were looking for the female, of course. So still today, when I get a 5-footer in the boat, I still scan the dorsal fin. And there's many days. I mean, one day I was up in the canyon, I got 4 fish that had a head tag and a dorsal tag, because we moved the location because of the fat growth, because we didn't want to lose. This is the tag, right? Here's the tag, and this is how it picks it up, right? Wow. So it has 10 digits, right? And that's how we know when we get a fish in our system that has come, say, from the Columbia River. Because when they tagged a bunch of fish down the Columbia River, 540 kilometers out to the ocean and down, right? They had 15 digits in their tags.
That's why you know where they're
from. I think we have about 6 to 7 fish right now that have come from the Columbia River migrated 540 kilometers, and I think 2 or 3 of those fish alone have been recaptured right in Chilliwack. Like right there. I think it's right around kilometer 106, 108. Right? And right now where we're sitting on the Fraser River, we're at about kilometer 54. And that means we're 54 kilometers from the ocean, right where we're sitting today. Right? Chilliwack is 106, about 106 kilometers.
The length of the Fraser. Till you
Yeah,
hit the mouth.
to the zero. Zero is the ocean.
Is that the
Yeah.
mouth?
Yeah, yeah. Right at the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Right at the confluence
Yeah.
there, right? So
What do you call that there?
when we tag these fish now, so what we do is every fish that comes in, we scan them. And if they're too big, we want to then take the fish to shore so that we can easily manage the fish without hurting the fish, as well as, making it easy for our clients, for instance, to also handle the fish and get a nice glory picture. So there's 2 things that we're doing.
call it,
But there's a huge fish just jumped right below us.
Wow.
But there's some really odd things that happen.
Just-
At the end of the day, you have to look at things like, we've tagged over 53,000 sturgeon collectively in less than 18 years.
And who's we?
People who are on the tagging program, the mark
Guys
recapture
like you?
program. Yeah.
All guys?
But no, and that's the other thing. There's probably only about, I would guesstimate, and I would say that, that less than 20% of all sturgeon guides on the Fraser River tags white sturgeon. Less than 20%. Because we have a lack of funding. We don't have enough kits. People don't turn in data. They don't take care of their equipment.
Do you have to purchase your own kit?
We don't. This is I have purchased some because they didn't have enough funding.
Right.
So I have purchased some scanners for our company, but they have supplied us with the tags. And part of that money comes from this equipment, comes out of the sturgeon license that is sold in the freshwater portion, right? So for research and all kinds of different things.
So you're still looking for that female?
No. We've
So
got
then you
lots of
tag
females
them
since
just to monitor you tag just to monitor the population, the numbers.
Yeah, because in the last year, there's been a bump in this population. And I think that the population went up about, I think there was a number, it was somewhere around 4,600. We had an increase, which on this year is a pink migration year of salmon.
Yeah.
All these things correlate.
Yeah.
Right? And so what happens is on a pink migration year, I truly believe we have ocean migrating sturgeon
They're following
that
the pinks.
follow the pinks that probably live somewhere out there in the ocean. And there's some acoustic readers now. There's about 150 to 175 sturgeon now that they have dropped acoustic tags into them. And they go through these readers that all go out to the
Tick,
ocean.
tick, tick. Yeah.
Right?
Click.
And you get pings. They're
Yeah,
called pings.
Yeah, pings.
And all that
When it
information.
hits this different
That's right.
readers or whatever, yeah.
The readers, yeah. So they are pinged. So what happens is, like on a year like this year, we had seen, and I don't know the exact numbers of how many of these fish, but we seen all these sturgeon that we were collecting data on were back in the 422, 423 numbers, 421 numbers, like probably over 100 fish that we haven't seen in 10 to 12 years.
Maybe following the
where
pinks.
did they come from?
Yeah.
Right? And where did they go? So, it's almost virtually impossible that you would not see those fish in 12 years here. Somebody's going to catch them. Right? But why? Why this year? Right? And it's this year that we have probably paid attention to it, the scientists, more than ever before. It was reported, this is kind of odd, and this is
What, the bump in the sturgeon population?
bump in the sturgeon population. Where have these fish been? Why are these fish all showing up that we haven't seen in 10 to 12 years? Why are they here?
Who's reporting that?
Who's
reporting that? Like, where did you see that discussed?
Well, they would be from our tagging sheets.
Oh, yeah.
All the information going in,
Yeah.
right? And they're looking. Jim Risling, a Chilliwack resident,
I remember.
is looking at that data, sending the data in to the Fraser River Sturgeon Conservation Society.
Yeah.
And he's looking like, this is a weird oddity, and why is this happening? And then so then this will all be discussed, probably in the winter months, right?
Is that Rick Hansen's
Yeah,
sturgeon conservation?
Rick Hansen, I don't believe, is on that board
Anymore?
anymore on the Fraser River Sturgeon Conservation Society
He used to
board.
be,
He used to be the director, and I think he's kind of pulled back the reins on that. He's still definitely involved, and he's a big, he's a huge
Supporter and
supporter, advocate.
Yeah.
I mean, he is, anytime you could have somebody, somebody like him on board on a program, I mean, and him believing and portraying that out to the world. I mean, that's a huge success.
Yeah,
right?
he got lots
He
of
loves
face-
fish.
lots of face
He
time.
loves sturgeon. And,
media.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Everyone knows him.
everybody knows who he
Profile.
Anyway, we're waiting for a bite.
is. Yeah, we are. Who brought us to this spot, anyways? That's all I'm going to say.
What did you see jump? What was
Big
jumping?
sturgeon.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's working his way to your rod.
I expected to have one already. That's a pretty big expectation, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to turn the